What if I told you there was a way to once and for all put an end to all the coughing, runny noses, and sneezing for your kids? What if there was a way to break the endless cycle of cold viruses that your kids bring home from school seemingly all the time? Hi guys, my name is Mark Houston. I'm the proud parent of two boys, ages 4 and 7 at the time of this recording. Like most parents, my wife and I have suffered from lack of sleep because our kids seem to stay sick during the entire school year. We have an entire kitchen cabinet dedicated to all of the medications, both prescription and over the counter, to combat the never ending colds that have plagued our children since they first started going to school. I have found a solution that knocks out the coughing, sneezing, clears up the congestion, dries up the mucus, and builds up the immune system, and it's non-toxic, non-habit forming, and all natural. In this video, I'm going to share some of these techniques. Stick with me to the end of this video and you'll learn exactly what I've discovered and how it has enabled my family to spend a lot less time being sick while even being surrounded by children literally coughing and sneezing directly into their faces. In this video, I'm going to show you what I'm calling the honey mix. It is a simple formula that you can make and administer to your kids. But first, let me explain the problem. The common cold. Of course, there is no cure, but there is a way to significantly reduce the effects and give the body the chance to fight it off and recover. Even better, there's a way to build up the body's immune system naturally to fight the cold germs before they even get a chance to grow and turn into a cold, or flu, or whatever. The root problem with a cold is mucus. The head gets congested, the mucus fills up the nasal passage, and drips down the throat. This is the heart of the problem in most cases. The mucus can drip down the back of the throat in a very steady yet small amount. This instantly causes a gag reflex resulting in coughing. Of course, you probably know all this already, and if you're like most people, you run to the drugstore to get some medication that quote unquote relieves the symptoms. In my experience, nothing in the drugstore has actually done much more than what is printed on the labels, which basically says provide temporary relief. Well, I'm here to show you a better way. This formula, which I'm about to share with you, will dry up the mucus, and it will do it rather quickly. You see, the faster you can get rid of the mucus, the faster the body can heal. Stopping the mucus literally short circuits the cold and all the other symptoms, such as runny nose, sore throat, and the nonstop coughing. On top of that, the honey mix, when taken regularly, will build up the body's immune system, making it much harder for you or your kids to get sick in the first place. So let's get to the formula. There are 4 ingredients to the honey mix: wildflower honey, ground ginger, ground black pepper, and freshly squeezed lemon juice. The dosage is all 4 ingredients mixed into 1 tablespoon. The frequency is as often as the symptoms appear, or better yet, once every few days, especially during the regular school season. This formula is not just for your kids, it's for adults also. You can expect to see results in 1 to 2 days, sometimes even faster depending on how quickly you start taking the mix when the cold symptoms first appear. So let me pull out the ingredients and show you how to administer it. There's a super easy way to administer it to toddlers, and I'll show you that also. All right, so here are all the ingredients that you need for the mix. Now, of course, black powder, black pepper, and ground ginger you've probably already seen. And the honey here is wildflower. Now, I got this out of Walmart. It's very important that you do not substitute this for any of the other regular honeys that you see in the grocery store because they simply will not work. So do not change it. Find a version of wildflower honey in order for this to work. And of course, I've got the lemons here, which I just cut and I put in the bag because I stick it in the fridge when I'm done. Now here is the tablespoon that I like to use, and I'll get a little close up so you can see. This is 1 tablespoon. I like to use this instead of a regular tablespoon because A regular spoon it's too hard to mix everything in and it'll spill it and make a mess all over the place. This is just a little bit deeper and it's much easier to actually get everything in. Now, let me show you the dosage that I use. Now this dosage is going to vary depending on who you're treating. For little kids, I'll show you how much I use. I use about that much, or maybe a little bit less, depending on the age of the child. Matter of fact, let me just take out a little bit, just to give you an idea. This is ginger, so it's a little strong, so kids don't necessarily like the taste. And depending on their age. So that's about all the ginger that I'm going to put into this one. Pepper, you just need a very small amount. I mean, just a dash. I don't know if you're going to be able to even see this in the video, but I put such a small amount in there you can barely see it. You know, you don't want to put too much in there because depending on the child, you put too much pepper in this and then they could just vomit it all out. So you don't want to put a lot. Next, I'll put in some lemon. And I'm just going to put in a couple of drops. I'll put about 10 drops. I'm not really counting here, just eyeballing this stuff. But as you can see how much lemon juice I squeezed in there. And at this point, I like to use a knife, but you can use anything really. I just like the sharp little pointy end. And then I'll just start to stir this up. And I'll mix it. See if you can see it better. I like to mix it all first before I start putting in the honey if I can. Because if you're not careful, what'll end up happening is the ginger will get stuck to the bottom. And no matter how much stirring you do, it won't actually mix in with the rest of the formula. So I like to stir it up first before I start doing anything. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of the honey in also. So now one thing I will say for this, for an adult, I would probably double the amount of ground pepper and double the amount of ginger. I would put a lot more ginger depending on how sick you are, because adults can handle a lot more of the taste of this thing. So I would definitely, if you want to increase the strength of the formula, then increase the dosage of the ginger and the black pepper. All right, so now at this point, I'll just put in a little bit of honey and mix that in. See how it changes the consistency? And make sure that it's all mixed in together. I'm trying to show you without spilling it all over the floor. You can't really see, but it's all mixed together. And then when I'm happy with it all mixed together, then I'll just fill up the rest of the tablespoon with honey. And this is really good. When you put a lot of honey in, it kind of masks the flavor of the pepper and the ginger. So little kids will probably take it better. Now, depending on the age of your child or the adult, you can just drink this down. And what's very important is it's so sticky and thick, you won't be able to just pour it into your mouth. You're just gonna have to lick it. You know, lick it out of the spoon like ice cream or something. But you want to get all of it into your system, okay? Now, if you have a very small child, and I said this earlier, you may not be able to get them to take this in this tablespoon because they're too young. So the trick and the way to get it into very small children is to use a syringe. Now I've got tons of syringes because we've been to the doctor so many times and we've got so many different medications. But I like this syringe the most because it's a pretty big one, and of course you probably already have one already, but you can always buy them. They sell them separately in the stores. And here's the way that you get it into a small child. What you want to do is you want to pour it into the back. Now look at my finger. I've got my finger over the bottom to hold it so that it doesn't pour out, okay? So I'm going to pour it into the bottom of the syringe. And try to get as much as I can, because of course they're not going to lick this. Now, here's the really tricky part. You want to get this air out at the bottom. So I'm going to put hold on, let me see if I can show you. I'm going to put the end of this in. I'm still holding the bottom, and I'm just going to barely get it in at the bottom here. I'm going to spill a little bit, but that's okay. Once you get just the tip of the bottom of the syringe in, and it's airtight at the bottom, flip it over, and then let the air rise to the top. Once it all gets to the top, the air, then you can squeeze out the rest of the air. You have to be very careful here, or else you're gonna have a big mess on your hands. Some of it will come out, that's normal, and you get all the air out. So now I have a dose, and I can administer this to very small children, okay? And you just give it to them a little bit at a time. Let them get used to the taste, of course, because it's got ginger in it and pepper. And what's really cool about this is that you can prepare it beforehand. So you can prepare this and have it ready to go if you have to administer it to them very late at night, or as soon as they get home from school, or whenever. Once you have it prepared, maybe if you have a couple of syringes, you can have them all set up and just put them on the counter. I don't recommend really refrigerating this. You can if you want to, but I don't know if the kids are going to take it if it's ice cold. I like to give it at room temperature. So I always make these right before I give it to them, and that's it. That's how you do this, and like I said earlier, you give it to them as soon as you see the symptoms, and take it yourself as soon as you see the symptoms, and take it for at least 2 or 3 days, and you will just see amazing results.